A viewer asked, how can I make more interesting encounters for level 1 and 2 parties, and yet reduce the chance of them dying randomly for no reason? Clearly, you need to add more enemies. Then, there will be a reason. I have a bad habit of starting 3rd Ed D&D campaigns in the level 3 to 5 range, in large part due to the reduced risk of utterly random mortality. All but the toughest level 1 heroes can be slain from full health by a lucky crit, sometimes by a lucky normal hit. But at any level, you can increase variety of enemies just by changing the flavor, the description and story of existing monsters. Like using the stat block from that ordinary goblin or kobold, with or without some minor changes to reinforce the new theme, and instead making them plantmen or formian antmen. An example stat change might be that the plantmen have -2 strength compared to the base goblin you started from, but they can spend a move action to visibly root themselves in the ground, giving them +4 strength, so +2 more than the original monster, and bonuses against tripping and stuff. If they move, they lose the bonus until they can root again. Or maybe your version of Formian's hive mind works like an agent from the Matrix, able to assume direct control of one of them at a time, the effect of which varies depending on what type of body they are taking over, meaning that when it takes over these low-level drones, it grants small buffs. But later on, when the party is higher level, the hive mind can take over more powerful Formians and do really epic things. For now, perhaps it grants +1 to hit and AC to all nearby Formians, and it knows 1 or 2 special attacks from Tome of Battle, like Mighty Throw. But jumping into a body takes that body's turn, and has an obvious sensory cue so the party can recognize it, especially after the first time they see it. Then, if its body dies, it can't take a new one for a whole turn. So you are adding a strategic element, encouraging the players to focus on it, and making things harder if they don't get to it before it can act. You can make these kinds of changes for anything, at any level, to make the story you want, and to keep things interesting while still using monsters appropriate for fighting a level 1 party. Just grab a stat block, add a CR that is appropriate, and make sure your changes are more about flavor and not just purely making things more dangerous. Another thing you could try to help your level 1 and 2 PC survival rates while still having dynamic, exciting battles is by ripping off the minion monster concept from 4th edition D&D. Minions in 4th are worth about 1/3 of the XP challenge rating value of a normal monster, but they have similar AC and saves and to hit. The trick is that they only have 1 hit point. Anything that hits them, kills them. Because you might have loads of them to keep track of, and also to avoid random damage spikes that so often kill low-level PCs for no fault of their own, the minions hit for a fixed amount of damage and cannot crit. The result is bigger combats. Instead of 2 goblins, you could have 6 goblin minions, or 1 better goblin leading 3 minions. Instead of 4 kobolds, you could have 8, 6 of which are minions. These fights are quite dangerous if the players are too slow to cut down the minions, but they are less likely to die from a random crit, beyond anyone's control, and their survival becomes a little more strategy-based. Usually, kill the minions as quickly as possible. They also get to feel like big damn heroes when they start mowing down superior numbers of enemies. If you are bringing this method to a game not normally designed for minions, it's important to make the players aware of it in advance, because they need to know how your minions work in order to make informed decisions. And 3rd Ed requires some rules tweaks for them, like giving all minions evasion and metal, so that they actually have to fail a save to be killed by a spell, instead of all dying automatically to fireball or burning hands. And because canny players will look for ways to get around this, spells and abilities which deal small amounts of damage with no save, like Magic Missile, you could slowly increase their 1 hit point up to 3 or 5 as needed, or you could simply rule that anything which would cause damage without an attack roll or save only has a 50% chance to affect a minion. It's not that there's anything wrong with killing a level 1 or 2 character, but if they die, it's much better if it happens because of some decision they made, because they misjudged the situation, rather than just a goblin rolling a natural 20. If you have a question about running an RPG campaign or anything else, you can ask it in the comments below on my Facebook, or tweet it to hashtag RPGqa. I'm not really an expert, but if people keep asking, I may just take a stab at it. And check out the drama, humor, and ongoing illustrated story of Tales from My D&D Campaign.
Put the hammer down on that like button.